Hi everyone, my name is Dov Hershkovitz, the Senior Product Manager in GitLab. I'm here joined by Nadia Sotnikova, our Product Designer. And this is the Pipeline Authoring 13.12 Kickoff video. To begin with, as always, we have a planning issue where you can look at the entire scope of this iteration. The planning issue is located underneath the Pipeline Authoring group, issue number 16. The goals of this milestone is first pick up the work from previous iteration. We have two epics that we still need to work on. And the first one is add the branch selector to the pipeline editor. Just quick recap. Today, the pipeline editor only works for users that are working on their main or the master branch. And we've been receiving a lot of requests from customers that would like to use the pipeline editor, but are not using their main branch. So this will allow those users to work on their pipeline using the pipeline editor. The second epic is to show the DAG relationship in the pipeline view, which will allow the user to select the type of view they would like to see in their pipeline graph. Either it will be based on the stage-based view, which is our traditional view, or users that are using the DAG or the need relationship and have the need dependencies between jobs that will run the job outside of the context of the stage. Users will be able to visualize those jobs or the entire pipeline based on the order of the execution. And you have all the details on the issue and in the previous recording where I've elaborated on each of those epics. The next big thing is implementing the pipeline drawer. And the pipeline drawer actually emerged from a Think Big and Think Small session that we've done together with the team. And the idea here is to support the new users that are the first-time users that are accessing the pipeline editor. Over the course of the last couple of iterations, we will focus on bringing a lot of users toward the pipeline editor, establishing the pipeline editor as their main editor to author and update their pipeline. Now, when we have those users in, we want to make sure that the in-product experience will be able to support those users with their journey to get their first pipeline. And the idea here is that once the user will go to the pipeline editor, they will see first a simple 3-stage template with some comments. It's a very simple, naive pipeline, similar to the Hello World style. And to the right, we will provide a collapsible drawer. And in this drawer, we'll first provide some guidance on how to get started with GitLab CI. And then we will provide a visualization that will reflect this pipeline, basically visual aid to show how this pipeline actually looks like. And then some tips about how you visualize and validate your pipeline using the editor, and some resources and links that can help and support our users while working on their pipelines. Of course, this is just an MVC, and we brainstorm with some ideas on how we can continue working on this drawer, because this drawer will allow us to scale and maybe add additional things such as pipeline templates, in-product integration with marketplace or other repository or more. But that's the MVC, and I actually probably expect this MVC to last for at least 2 iterations, probably. And yeah, let's continue with this with the issues. So we have 2 missed deliverables that we need to work on. One is to retry a failed job on a downstream pipeline. So today, when you have a failed downstream pipeline, one of the jobs on the downstream pipeline was failing, there is no way for the user to retry the downstream pipeline. The only workaround is to retry the entire pipeline. And our MVC approach is to add the retry to the bridge job, and the retry to the bridge job will only appear whenever a downstream pipeline is failing, meaning that at least one job out of this downstream pipeline has failed. You'll be able to see a retry button. Clicking on the retry button will only retry the failed jobs on the downstream pipeline. Now, if your downstream pipeline is green, we won't show this retry button because our retry mechanism actually retry only failed job. So the retry button won't do anything if the downstream pipeline is all green. So it will only appear when we have a failed job here. And the next missed deliverable is the allow need to refer to a job in the same stage, which is what I call like a stageless pipeline to allow users to use the need or the DAG relationship to a job within the same stage. This will open the door for users to able to configure their pipeline configuration without configuring any stages at all. And also here, we may end up finishing the work in 1312, but since this is a major change, we'll probably take like a full iteration to roll it out. So even if we complete the implementation work in 1312, it will be released in 14 because we want to take the time and thoroughly test the impact of this change. And the last issue is UX improvement. Right now, whenever you have a downstream pipeline, it doesn't matter if it's a multi-project pipeline or parent-child pipeline, users cannot tell which trigger job activated the downstream pipeline, because you see that you have like some sort of an ID, and there is no way for the user to know from the visualization which job trigger which downstream pipeline. And the improvement that we are suggesting is to add the name of the bridge job that triggered the downstream pipeline to the downstream pipeline. So for instance, I can see that this pipeline was triggered by test A job, which is probably this one. And this pipeline was triggered by test B and test C and so on and so forth. So adding this label will help users identify which bridge job trigger which downstream pipeline. And we've been getting a lot of requirements from the user to in different variation on how can they tell which job trigger which pipeline. Yeah, that's about it for the scope of work for the deliverable item. We have some filler issues in this table here, but I expect us to pick up this work only if we'll finish all of our deliverable items. And now let's move to the scope of work for UX. Nadia, you can take it from there.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Hi, everyone. So as we're starting our work on the pipeline drawer, and we're continuing our work on showing the DAG relationships in the pipeline graph, I finally have some time to do some proactive work and do some high-level design exploration research. So this milestone will be very research focused for me, with some design exploration for like blue sky vision and things like that. So the first thing that we're still working on together with Dove is our category maturity scorecard research. So we're currently in the middle of running the interviews. We're running interviews with our internal users. So we're interviewing GitLab SREs as well as engineers, both front end and back end, to see how they do with the current experience for authoring a pipeline. How did that experience improve? Did we move up in maturity or not? And generally, we're already generating lots of really interesting insights about how to further improve the usability of the pipeline authoring experience as well. So very excited to finish up this research, this milestone, and share all of the insights with everyone. Another research that I will be running will be a solution validation for the job dependencies view for the pipeline graph. So we're in the middle of working through the epic to show DAG relationships, aka job needs relationships or dependencies in the pipeline graph. And we're exploring different ways to show those dependencies. So we also don't affect the pipeline graph performance, because the pipeline graph can be quite big. It actually takes a lot of resources to draw the links between the jobs. So we're exploring just different solutions that we could try to address the performance concerns while delivering the value for this feature. And here in this mockup, you see that we want to show the job dependencies between the jobs, and then you would be able to hover over the job to see. Let me see if I have the screenshot here. Yeah, so you can see all of the jobs that this job depends on. So we will be testing a couple of different solutions with GitLab users to see how they respond and whether there's a preference for one way or another of displaying these links. Another issue I'm very excited about is design exploration for the pipeline editor UI. And this issue is quite broad on purpose. So the scope of this issue is very broad. And the goal is to explore and test out different ideas that we've been discussing for the evolution of the pipeline editor UI, for the visual builder, for the pipeline visualization. How can we bridge the experience of the editor and pipeline visualization, things like that. So we're currently starting the work on, or we'll be starting the work in 13.12 on the pipeline drawer, and that also creates additional opportunities for us to create a better user experience in the pipeline editor. So one of the things I'm exploring, for example, is showing the templates in the pipeline drawer like this. So these ideas are a bit far out for us. Like, this is really kind of long-term vision exploration, but I think it's going to be great for us to create some mock-ups and to create those artifacts. So those ideas that we're kind of pinging back and forth based on all of the research that we're doing, so we can start doing some solution validation for those things as we're doing customer interviews and as we're conducting the category maturity scorecard interviews. So it just seems like a good opportunity to start testing out all of those different ideas. Another little issue that I will be working on is how can we add a documentation link to the keyword description in the pipeline editor. So this will not require that much design, but I think it's going to have pretty high impact on the usability of our editor. So we've just recently added static validation to the pipeline editor that shows you additional information about the keywords, like so, like you see in this little GIF. And we want to also add documentation links to those dropdowns. So you're able to not only read about the keyword very briefly, but if you want to dig deeper into the use cases and examples and things like that, you can click on the documentation link and it will take you to additional information. So that that will be very useful for anyone who's new to GitLab CI/CD, but really any user, because it's difficult to remember all of the syntax. And those are the major research and design efforts that I will be working on. We also have this new section in our planning issue for active UX research efforts. So the category maturity scorecard research, Dove and I running together, the solution validation. I'll be running in 13.12 as well. And I also linked here the Dovetail project where we store our customer interview recordings that Dove is running, and sometimes I join as well. So if anyone wants to check it out, it can also be a great resource if you want to have a look at the different insights that we're gathering from our customers. Yeah, very excited for this milestone. Back to you, Dove, to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. So as always, if anyone has any thoughts, questions, or comments, feel free to reach out to me, Nadia, or better off ping us on the planning issue. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.